to Pop Nerd Lounge. My guest today is Tobias Elhammer. Tobias, thank you so much for joining me on our show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, how would you describe your why for why you dance?
Wow. Why do I dance? That's a big question. I think to me dance came into my life as a way of communicating and connecting with people more so than anything. Um, I've always been dancing in my family, so there's always been jazz music or pop music. Specifically, there was a lot of Prince music in my house, and I would just be dancing around like I reckon everyone does when they love music and they're young. And then later on, I went on to actually my parents brought me to see this. They took me to see this play when I was living in Stockholm for a year, and it was a play orchestrated by this dance group called Bounce. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they're great people, great choreographers and directors and whatnot. And yeah, my parents brought me to see this play, and I just fell in love because they were fusing styles in a very unique way. You had ballet, you had breakdance, you had crump, you had all types of genres in there. So after seeing that specific play, I just went back to Denmark and just I started breakdancing. I wasn't good at it, but I started.
You actually just answered my next question, which was, what is your origins in dance? But that was perfect. That was perfect. Saw some of your inspiration in there and saw how you began. So, perfect response. I love it. I love it. So, social media has been this big asset in helping dancers promote their craft. How has social media changed the dynamics of the dance industry?
I think it's one of those things where it completely turned the industry upside down in both good and bad ways. I think the positives mainly. I want to say that the positives outweigh the negatives. Um, Only because now it is much easier with social media to actually make dance a career. You have all these platforms, YouTube of course being the main one in my opinion, but you also have of course have Instagram, which is the more instant sort of you're scrolling through and you get instant validation or you get instant whatnot and you're looking at people's content. Um, I think it makes things easier in regards to just showing who you are and in regards to figuring out what field you want to be in as a dancer. It's easier to be seen as well. Of course, there's also some negatives, and that being social media being the main sort of drive factor for a lot of people to do anything because they want that instant validation when they take a class or when they do anything. They wanna put it on the gram, like they say. And I think more so than anything, that is the biggest problem. The problem is that people turn up and they take classes because they want to get that beautiful little shot at the end, but that limits them from taking the classes where they actually struggle and possibly look ridiculous, which is the classes they should be taking. And I think, well, I assume back in the days that wasn't really a thing. I think people just took class because they wanted to learn, and they went in there to Struggle Nation because they wanted to go to Struggle Nation and they wanted to feel insecure. So it's sort of this thing where it's a love and hate relationship. I try to focus on the positives, but the main thing for me is to remember to be in control of it, not let it control you. So Instagram or YouTube or whatnot, it's your platform to use. You use it however you want to use it, but don't get consumed by it, and don't let it replace your quality of life. Um, I guess that's it.
Beautiful, because no, like 100% that's the case because I see, everybody recognizes those videos either in Playground or Millennial, and then they Millennium, sorry, excuse and they
You're
see
good.
all these groups and they want to be a part of that. They want to be in the groups featured whenever there's like a big choreographer doing a routine or whatnot. And they see that as a driving factor to come to class, like you said. But you're right. Like a lot of people are afraid to take some classes because they're afraid to go to Struggle Nation. They're afraid to, like you said, look ridiculous and to embrace that discomfort in learning. Because I feel that's a lot of like things where like if we're afraid to learn because we're afraid to look silly or ridiculous. And that's to me, that's really sad because like you have to get to that place before you can look good. You have to get to that bridge of like awkward and oh, I'm gonna go through this motion 50 bazillion times and look like possibly look silly doing it before I can actually achieve like the smoothest or the crispness that I want from a certain pattern or routine or whatever. So yeah, no, 100%. You hit it right now.
No, that's totally true, and that's also very much the case in my classes, if anything, because what I do is I take from all type of genres and styles within the dance, and I sort of, I guess I've found my own little niche of, I guess you could call it my own style, and it is a difficult thing for a lot of people because it includes a lot of footwork, it includes a lot of things that they might not have trained in. Um, and yeah, you can clearly sense that people want to, and people would either want to get into a classroom and document them being amazing. They would not so much document them struggling in the class. Where maybe we should try to do that more. Maybe we should actually go out and take classes and then maybe film ourselves looking silly, because that is kind of the point of a class, isn't it? It's not about the pressure of a video or it being a concept video all of a sudden. It's more about learning and being feeling exposed and feeling like you're drowning almost and feeling like you're a bad dancer in order to be a good dancer.
No, totally, because I feel like a lot of social media is superficial. Like you said, like we put it on the gram because we think we look good, but not a lot of people document their progress. And I feel like we should do that, like you said, like add more realness and humanity to our social media because people can relate to that. They can be like, oh, I just started learning how to do jazz or do ballet, and it's hard, and I see somebody else kind of going through the same thing. So it adds like a bit of a connection and it adds like a element of humanity to, and yeah.
Yeah.
So the commercial dance world has evolved so much, even within the last decade. What has been the biggest shift you've seen in commercial dance?
Well, the thing is, when you look at the commercial sort of dance scene, styles vary and styles are popular in specific generations, and then they sort of move on to a new generation. And you can clearly tell that when you watch anything commercial, anything music video wise, it is constantly evolving and there's constantly trends, and you have all these social dance trends. However, there's always been trends. I mean, there's always been social dances. It's just been different ways of putting it. Of course, music is, in my opinion, when you look at just the music and you listen to the music, it is very, very. It all sounds the same, and that's my humble opinion, and that's something that I guess. I don't know what it is. Someone's to sort of crack the code on one of these specific trap songs, and then everyone copied it, and it continues to do so. So when I'm listening and I'm listening to the music nowadays, I'm struggling a lot with sort of being inspired by the newer music, where a lot of the older tracks are more inspiring for me. Dance wise, we react to that, and because the music is repeating itself, the dancing is also repeating itself in many ways. And I think it's our responsibility to, even though maybe the music might be very similar, maybe we as dancers should try to don't be afraid to use our voice and our individuality as creators, because what's the point if we all look the same, you know?
No, 100%. Yeah, like mainstream music, like you said, has become super repetitive, or it just kind of sounds like it gels into one. Like there isn't something signature anymore unless you have somebody like Billie Eilish who is changing up her sound constantly. But yeah, like music is repetitive, and like you said, dance could get into that same situation as well, because you see all these choreographers kind of being inspired by each other, and then there's inspiration, but then there's also like taking that inspiration because you know it works and then using it to your advantage. So yeah,
Yeah,
no, 100%, 100%. So there,
sure.
there was this very eye-catching news story in Rolling Stone last year that talked about dancers not getting their fair share in a booming industry. How can dancers help one another gain an understanding of what all goes into a dancer's work?
Well, yeah, that article is a pretty good one. It's a problem that we've all been faced with for so long, and it continues to be a problem. And I think, unfortunately, it will still be a problem for a while, in the future as well. But I think our responsibility lies with communicating to the next generation what what it means when they say yes to a job, underbidding everyone else and saying yes to a rate that is not appropriate or whatnot. Because a lot of these new dancers come out completely green. They come out from from college or whatever it is. They come out and they just wanna dance. They just wanna learn. They're hungry and eager. And I completely understand that. They want to put that name on that resume. But then it is. I think it's the responsibility of the educators and the people at the colleges teaching them, or just the mentors that these people have, to let them know, like, we are a community and we need to stand together in order to grow together. And the biggest problem is that within the urban industry and within the commercial industry, I don't think anyone is really standing together as much as when you look at the more contemporary scene or ballet or whatnot. People there are standing together, and that is something we should probably look into and try to learn from. Because we are stronger together when we separated. And so far, everyone is doing everything for them damn selves, and that's the problem. Because everyone wants to do that job, and everyone wants to do that one thing, and I get it because they need to pay their rent. But let's look at the bigger picture sometimes.
No, totally. And I feel like there should be more awareness onto, like for you said, for like the newer dancers, how to negotiate their contracts, how to understand a day rate, because not a lot of people do that. Like even in other areas of the creative industry, whether you're a musician or whether you're a videographer or a photographer, not everybody understands how to value their worth in the beginning. That's like
Not truth. Yeah.
not something that's taught. Like you have to, you're like, okay, do I charge this much because I'm just starting out, or do I charge this much because I have this experience? It's yeah, it's something that's not taught. And I agree. I feel like that should be uh more aware out there. Speaking of which, that segues nicely into my next question. What advice could you give dancers in helping them know their worth?
Well, knowing your worth is essentially knowing the industry. It is knowing what it means to be a dancer, and it is knowing how much you should get for 8 hours work or 10 hours work, and all these different things. And that is, again, it comes back to the same thing. Um, you need to be taught these things, and the only way to be taught these things is by someone telling you. Um, I think, just to sort of segue back to the question, I think a lot of responsibility also falls on the choreographers when it comes down to underpaying dancers. It is very easy to throw away all the responsibility and say, yeah, but the producers they don't want to pay this and this and that. So that's the job this time around. You as a choreographer, you have a responsibility to actually help your dancers and to take charge, to be in charge, and to, yeah, just to try to at least make a difference and communicate it clearly to everyone around you. So I think, yeah, it's just very. I think the main thing is take responsibility for your actions. It's that's what it is, and look at things in a bigger picture, and look at things as a team player. Because, yeah, we tend to not, and that's why there are so many issues. Um, let's educate the next generation as much as we can in the rates and in how to do so. Maybe there should be, because I know a lot of people that will go in and then will say, okay, I want to use 10 college students for this specific thing because we need a lot of people on stage. But it's not. Maybe they do it for free. Where I go, well, maybe not for free. Maybe you should already there start to teach them. Here's the deal. This is what you should be getting, and this is what you will be getting when you're working as a professional. When you are in college, maybe you get a fee still, but it's a lower fee. Maybe it's like just something so that you get that you shouldn't work for free ever. That's unless you're working in a concert video for your friend that is paying everything and it's like his big vision, because that's me. But that's a different thing because that's not a job. That's not a paid job. So.
So, what's your perspective on hustling and constantly creating versus strategic planning? Because there are the people who think and think and think, and sometimes they'll hesitate on the ideas that they have, or they'll sit on the ideas that they have, versus the people who are constantly like creating things, even though it might not be successful as one project versus another.
I think it is very important to plan and schedule and strategic sort of lay out what you want to do and visualize it ahead of doing it. Because even what's the harm? If you lay out all these things in front of you and I'm gonna go in that direction and that direction, and then all of a sudden if you feel inspired to do something else, then just do it. It's not like oh, then it ruins your entire schedule. You might just push things around a little bit. That's what I do. I lay out a lot of things for myself. I have around 10 videos I'm currently working on. Three of them I have filmed already, and I have two scripts written for a short film and a feature and film. And all these things are not something that I'm going and expecting to be released tomorrow and that I want to produce tomorrow, but it's something I'm doing for me, and therefore I'm laying out a schedule and a plan, sort of. I'm just sort of putting in the pieces, and then you will wait, and then sometimes maybe a friend is in town and you go, you know what, let's just do something crazy. I think I think it's a perfect balance between the two, and I don't think, but I think the main thing is being patient. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, and that's why they don't get stuff done. I know that from my personal, when I create, my main factor is being patient with stuff and accepting when I'm not inspired, then I'm not inspired, or when I am inspired, I'm inspired. Or maybe you have to wait to release a video for 2 years in order for it to be what you want it to be. But it will be worth it in the end. And a lot of people just lack the patience and the patience and also the ability to invest their time into it constantly and be the main drive factor in production. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
No, like it's right because like patience, like you said, is something that people sometimes have a difficulty grasping with, especially like they just want to get it done. They want like you were saying earlier, they want that immediate validation. And patience, I mean, for me, especially when creating for our show, patience is something that I have to keep in mind because if I want to focus on the quality. Like if it's going to take a little bit longer, I'd rather have a really solid episode that's great quality and delay the release of it rather than, oh, hey, let's chop something up and let's put it out because I said I was going to release an episode this day. So no, yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally. So let's talk about your Jackson Trilogy that you created, which I absolutely loved. I thought they were all brilliant videos. Um, so they weren't just concept videos, but they also had certain messages behind them. So let's talk about your experiences with those videos and tell our listeners what it was like creating them.
Sure thing. It was quite an intense when you look at the overall, because we created the first one probably I think 5 years ago now, which was actually when you were talking about doing spontaneous things and planning out and whatnot, that was the most spontaneous thing I've ever done. It was an idea that I had from one day to the next, and I figured I had to do it. So I reached out to all the people in London. I had just moved at the time to London, so I reached out to all the people that I kind of knew and said, I'm doing a video. Create steps, and then they all said okay. Well, not all of them, but majority of them said, "I'm down, I'm game, let's do it." And then at that time, I had just connected with my really good friend Mike Dones. Actually, he lives in LA. He shot both the Burn It Up video, but also the sequel Black or White video. And then we just sort of went around London. We did a little scout, and then we shot the whole thing in a week. I think we had one rehearsal of literally being in the studio every single day. I coordinated it so that I would say, here's what I would send out to the specific people and say, you are choreographing this part, you're choreographing this part. It needs to sort of end in this type of way so that it transitions into the next. And then I just rented out a studio for people to drop in and learn sections, or I would learn sections, or I would teach my piece, and then we shot it the week after. That was the first one. And then the Black or White video, after the response we received from the Burn It Up video, we figured that we should better take this seriously in many ways. So I wanted to, because we were already delivering a message with the Burn It Up video, which was stay versatile, and it's a very simple message in a sense of, I think first initially I wanted it to be about dance. I wanted it to be about just educate yourself in different styles and don't limit your mindset to being one type of dancer or to be one type of, to only specifically like one thing. Just stay versatile. But you can also look at it in many other ways, as just being a human. Same concept. So I wanted to dwell more into the whole delivering a message, because I think that's again a beauty of social media, being able to share a message that's important via social media, because you can really reach out to a lot of people. So we did that with the Black or White video. That was an intense ride, to say the least. I think we went to, I want to say, 13 countries in 16 days. And a lot of people think that we just created this video while I was casually in the country. But no, that was not the case. We planned it out, and then we went on a complete trip to just film. A lot of the times we only had 24 hours to meet up, rehearse, clean the combo, find a good location, and then shoot it. And it was just very exhausting, but it was definitely worth it. And turned out great, I would say. And then what? Then that video completely exploded, which was a surreal experience, because the first video had we got a great feedback from it online. But the Black or White video was, as soon as it was seen online, a lot of people ripped it from my channel and posted it onto their Facebook pages and whatnot. So I think across platforms it reached up to like 40 million views, which was great, because the message was the deal here. That's why we did it. So the message got out to 40 million people, which definitely meant that people wanted to hear that, and people responded to that message, which was sort of basically just, I guess, standing on the shoulders of Michael Jackson's own message for his music video. So it was a special experience. And then at the time I didn't really, I knew that I wanted to do a final chapter, but I knew also that if I were to do it again, I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do it more so for myself as an artist. So for the final video, I sat down and I wrote on the script for around a year, just to figure out how to connect the dots. Figured out that we had obviously left some hats behind in the previous videos, which was the idea, and the main sort of being the hat bearer in the videos means taking responsibility and helping sharing the message. So that was the key, to sort of connect the dots. And then we filmed that video after writing and prepping for a year. We filmed it for a year in different places, which was a completely different way of doing it this time around, because we were flying people out. For the Black or White video, we were hiring local talent, we were finding local talent, where for the Scream video, we were literally flying the people we wanted for each scene out to each location. So in Dubai, I would have Mechnun and Tali, and then in Switzerland, I would have Dylan and Jai, and on the top of a mountain, minus 30 degrees, and it was just very intense. And I'm not gonna lie, it cost me a lot of money, but it was something worth doing because um, it was an important message, and for me, it was about fear, about how fear shouldn't affect how we perceive each other and as human beings, and how we shouldn't let it control our actions. And I think it's one of the most important topics, especially today, because everything now is built up around fear. You look at Brexit, you look at the U.S. president, you look at all these different things, all these different factors, and it's all built on fear of what people don't really understand because they've never tried to fully understand it. Different cultures, different ways of living, and I think it's all about just defeating that fear and you know trying to understand. And then when you do understand and understand the other side and understand how things are done differently from everyone, then you understand that we're just human beings. Jesus Christ.
Like such a simple, such a beautiful message to relay because I feel like we need that in the world. Like there's so, like you said, there's so much fear mongering going on. Things like you said, like our president or like just even right now, like as we're recording this, like there's so much fear mongering going behind the coronavirus that's going on, and so
Yeah.
and not everybody understands that. There's like not like substantial like information from like the CDC or whatever that people are reading. Like they're like those government entities or whatever are putting information out, but people aren't doing the time to research enough for to fully understand something, and it just goes on beyond like people taking the time out to understand cultures and to, like you said, understand one another. And we're just human beings, like you said. It's such a great message. And you won a, I think it's a award for it, right? Like the Dance Awards UK. I think you won that, right? For
Yeah, that's true. I did. I did. I won the concert video of the year for Scream, which was a great honor. It's an award I've been nominated for last year as well, or was it last year? No, last year I won. It was the previous year. Um, but yeah, that was great. It was a very special moment, sort of being acknowledged by the UK community. Because obviously I'm not from the UK, but I feel like I am. UK to me is specifically the dance community in London feels very much like home, more so than plenty of other communities I've been a part of. But also to sort of the whole thing about being informed and not letting fear take over. I think, again, to come back to one of our previous topics about social media, nowadays it's very easy with algorithms and whatnot to just believe what you read instantly on Instagram, like, or Google or whatever it is, without actually going to the source and trying to get the right facts. And I think, again, that tracks back to being patient and actually wanting to be patient enough to look into, what, that's actually what happened. This is actually the facts. It's not this. That's not the case. Maybe that people are building on rumors. So in a day where everything is just being blown into your face, I think it's very important to try to narrow it down and find the correct source so that we stay well informed and correct informed about everything. But as soon as we dig into fear, I think that we are letting the people that are thriving on fear win. So let's not do that.
Amen. Amen. So, what would you tell a creative person who is hesitant about starting a project because of the lack of resources or time?
Just, I would say one step at a time. Sometimes it can seem really overwhelming when you look at all the things you want to get done and you know that you have to get done. But if you just start by maybe creating the first count of eight, and then you look at that count of eight and you go, you know what, that's great. Okay, then you can maybe sit on that for a little while. And you can go out and you can have a beer and celebrate that count of eight. And then you come back and then you go, okay, now that was great. To me, it's always about finishing on a high. And this is something that I actually spoke with Easy Twins about. And I told them when we were creating for World of Dance. That's one of my key things when I choreograph. It is to finish, if I have the luxury of doing so, of course, if I have the time, luxury of time. But I like to finish on a high. So you would go on, you would create a piece, and then at a certain point you would go, "This is incredible! Oh my god, we made it! So hard! How did I do that? How did we make it till this point?" And then rather than going, "Let's push it even further," you just leave it, because then you would want to return to that feeling. Sort of, you resonate with the positive emotions more than the negative. So therefore you would want to go back to it, more, I guess, more briefly. Like, you just want to attack it again, because you want to attack the successful experience that you had last time, and continue in that realm. So that's my best advice. But again, one step at a time. Continue to just take it one step at a time, and all of a sudden you will have basically made all the dots, and you can start to connect them.
So, are there any future projects that you would like to tease?
Yes, there is. There's. I actually sort of already teased them earlier on, but yeah, I have, like, I'm currently producing uh, what keeps changing, but like, to begin with, I laid it out to be 15 videos. I don't know if it's gonna be 10 or 15, but or maybe 20. But I know that a lot of them are in production, and a lot of them involve collaborations with people that really inspire me. I'm trying to do things differently now, and I'm trying to not stress. Well, not I never stressed it, but I'm trying to not sort of. I haven't set myself a deadline. I'm just creating right now, and I'm enjoying putting things in the vault, and just sitting on it and looking at it and going, "Oh, that's cool," or so. Yeah, I've got a lot of videos coming. I don't know when they'll come out, but that's really exciting. And then besides that, I've also I've had a lot of requests for tutorials, online tutorials for teaching and whatnot, and I have recently, I guess you can say, I've recently finalized the deal with the tutorial platform that sort of, that I connect with, and that I think will do what it is that I will, or will honor what it is that I'm trying to do when I teach. So that is also coming, which is great, this year. I think all of it will come this year. Maybe not. No, who knows?
Well, we're all excited to see it. I mean, your concept visuals are amazing every time that you drop something. I mean, always floored by how much detail and effort that you put into work. And it's not just like movement, you actually tell a story with what you're doing. So I appreciate that 100%.
Thank you so much.
My final question for you before we go is if you were going to give a TED Talk, what topic would you speak on? I feel like you already given like a little mini one today, but like, what would you speak about if you were going to give a TED Talk?
I That's a great question. What would I speak about? I think I would speak about taking the leap, and that will somehow resonate with daring to feel uncomfortable, and daring to feel exposed and vulnerable, and what that means for your creativity and your ego. Something like that could be great.
No, it sounds fantastic. I feel like that needs to be said. So yeah, maybe it'll happen one day. We'll manifest it into the universe and say that you'll be giving a TED Talk on that.
To be honest, it could also be fear. I mean, fear is still a very deep topic, and fear or anxiety and stuff like that, I think, is important to speak about, and for people to hear, because more people than we think struggle with anxiety and fear, and as a general thing. So yeah, that could also be one. But there's plenty of things to talk about. Just call me Ted. This one guy.
Well, this has been absolutely amazing. I've enjoyed chatting with you. Go ahead and
Likewise.
go ahead and tell our listeners where they can connect with you on social media, or maybe where they can catch your content on YouTube. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you.
Well, they can find me on YouTube. It is literally just my name. You just search Tobias Hammer, all in one. You'll find my channel. Same thing on Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, which is something I try to use more. I'm really bad at it. I try to stay hip. I guess it's not really hip. It's one of the oldest platforms, but I'm trying. I'm on there as well, and I think my name is Hammer. So good sign that I know my own name on Twitter. I'm not on TikTok yet. Who knows what will happen? And that's about it. Main thing is YouTube, so find me on YouTube.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tobias. This has been an absolutely incredible chat.
Thank you. Appreciate it.